right? So most importantly, I want you to be excited. I want you to be ready. I want you to be open to the experience. And I don't think there's any better way than for us to start that with Renew, Freedom Unleashed 2022. Join me in the experience. Ladies and gentlemen, your Chief Inspirational Officer, Wayne Brown.
Oh my goodness, it's amazing to be here and see you. Oh man, thank you. Thank you for sharing with Surface the most valuable thing that you have in your life, and that's your time. We realize that you've taken time from your family, your friends, and you've journeyed to Las Vegas to share with us, and I have a promise for you. The promise is one of sharing the education, innovation, and inspiration necessary to reach to our next level. Do me a favor for a second and close your eyes. Through the 13-year journey of Surface, some of you have played this with me, some of you haven't. I can see you, your eyes are open, get them closed. What I want you to do now is I want you to take your right hand and point straight up in the air. I want you to keep your eyes closed, and I want you to point north. Keep your eyes closed. Now, life is about choices. You shouldn't be pointing straight up. You should be pointing in a horizontal direction. Okay? Now, please just keep pointing the direction you're pointing and open your eyes. We have a lot of north in the room. But you see, my trusty compass, who has traveled the world with me for 20 plus years, it tells me that north is right that way. And I use that as an example of the importance in life to know what direction you're moving, your culture, your foundation. This morning, we'll be launching the morning with Cutting the Renew collection. Within our cutting system, I believe there's really only 5 core haircuts in the world. Long one length, long layers, horizontal line, inverted line, and short layers. And personally, I was a free-form cutter for the first 15 years of my life. I won the Canadian Men's Cutting Championship. When I was 19, I was a free-form cutter. When I was 20, I won the Women's Haircutting Championship. And then all of a sudden, I started to get the questions, how do you do that again? And I would, look at the individual and say, well, people don't want really the exact same thing twice. Until I realized what a freeform cutter is someone who really can't do the same thing twice. And people want consistency. So if we're going to give you a change, we will change, but I want to be able to replicate my look, and I want it to be able to coach people that. So I took 3 years from 1990 to 1993, and I really took a pen on paper, and I wrote down a roadmap to those haircuts. So that they're really, you can own them, you can teach them, and if I communicate with you, I know you're gonna fall into one of those categories. And I realized too, in our industry, we did hair. I'd love to do your hair sometime. What do you want to do to it? How about some layers in the side? And I realized we needed to have something to sell, so I gave the core haircuts very sellable names. So when you're speaking with your guest, you can talk about the edge, long on length. You can talk about freedom, long layers. You can talk about windswept, horizontal line. Sounds a lot better than going, how about a bob? That we can do front and center, which is your inverted base, or the crop. And then trend comes, and I want to share with you, there's an unlimited amount of trend that we can adapt to. It's a matter of exaggerating on purpose. What did I say? Exaggerate on purpose. How many of your guests can't wait till you come back from here to see what's new? Baby, I just want to see what's happening. Well, we've got so many new family members. This is your first Surface event. Welcome. You will get grounded, but you'll also be encouraged to own our core cutting system. Because whenever we apply a trend, the trend actually comes from that core base. Renew, freedom unleashed. You're also going to hear this weekend much about being business unleashed. You interested in that one? I believe there's more opportunity than ever before. What you'll see is a very strong, natural, bohemian effect to the hair we're cutting. I'm a firm believer, as is my wonderful friend and our global ambassador, Sean Carlson. I say, ink it, don't think it. This is my little Surface manual. These blank pages represent success. No matter what book you're writing on, or if it happens to be this, I believe in quadrant learning. So what you do on any paper you're working with, you just draw 4 lines by only drawing 2. Boom, there I got 4 boxes. This says cut, this says color, this says finish, this says treatment. So now when you see the models being cut, and they'll come back later to be colored, and they'll come back later to be finished, you can revert back to that. Then I got another page. This is such an important page. This says retail in this quadrant, service in this quadrant, business development in this quadrant, and stylist development in this quadrant. So from the amazing presenters that we have, which we have so many of you, I share this to really help guide you learn. Does that sound good? But let's just be aware of something to kick things off. Staying right where you are, which are wonderfully social distance, I do want you to stand up. And now what I want you to do is I want you to turn a full circle. 360. Congratulations, the world just revolved around you. Please stay standing. Please stay standing. I want you to reach high. I realize you're reaching high, but life is always about getting on your toes. Get on your toes, please. You thought you were high, you just got a little bit higher. And that's what our job is in the next 2 days. Let's cut some hair. Please put your hands together for this lovely lady. Kelly's one of our Salon Growth managers out of the Michigan marketplace. She's got lots of her fans out there. Brandy Weber, just pop your head out just for a second, Brandy. She's also been on and off the stage getting everything ready for us. Model, coordinator, extraordinaire, and educator. As I prep the hair, I'm going to prep with our protein cream. I believe that this time we're in is a time of how do we raise the bar within self-care. So I want to make sure that my guest, Amy, here, has an experience of something special today. So Amy, the time of year is coming where it's a little bit drier out. And I know that you'd been sharing with me as a phenomenally successful stylist that sometimes those old joints can get a bit achy. So I've got a special treat for you today. And if I can see your hands, we're going to take a little bit of the Surface CBD salve. You take a little of that in your hand, scrape it off. And you're going to see it's going to melt like nothing ever you've felt before in a healing salve. And that's because a babassu oil helps deliver it. Also, arnica helps work with that. So as we're working today, you can have that massaged in. And how's it feeling? Awesome, great. So sit back, enjoy. Let's cut some hair. What do you think about that idea? Did you see what just happened? What I'm asking you to do is raise your awareness through the next 2 days of how you can raise your bar engaging your guest. Your life is about to change because never again will you ever in your life say, how much you want off today? Same as last time, just a trim. What do you want? Did you bring a picture? Because we realize that our discovery process needs to be so much greater. The first question that I like to ask a first-time guest is I tell them I need to know more about them before we can even talk about their hair. I'll ask them when they walk into a room, do they like to turn ahead and be noticed or come in more soft and subtle? Those two answers guide me to pushing the envelope or keeping it calm. There's 3 answers you may get to that question. Answer number 1, I like to be more calm and casual. Answer number 2, I like to turn ahead. Let's be a rock star. Answer number 3, a little bit of both. And that allows you then to work with an arranging, provide styling information. So, Amy, it gets you to stand up. The first thing we're going to cut is our outer perimeter. Many people say, Wayne, I love to see you work with a razor. I just want to stress something. This isn't just a razor. It's our Surface razor. How many of you guys are Surface razor? I'm talking, if you're not, it's the first thing you want to invest in. The first thing is the balance of it, how it fits in your hand, but then also the guard and the blade that we've had of surgical steel gives you a real protected edge. So in cutting our perimeter, I want to make sure that Amy's looking straight ahead. And I'm going to take 3 sections in the back. Armando on our camera there is an awesome guy. I can see him coming in. And I don't want a hard line. I'm going to take and pinch this. And remember, Renew is about softer edges. So talk to your guests about softer edges. They're seeing more of a natural flow in fashion. I'm going to take my next section right in the middle, using that pass section as a slight guide. I'm going to pull that down all nice and smooth. I pinch that together. And I take that into a soft point. My third section, 1, 2, 3, my third section comes beside. Pinch that line together. I can see my guide. And can you see the angle of my razor? I can make sure that Armando is really nice and tight. The angle there is really nice and underneath. So I'm not cutting on the top, I'm cutting underneath that section. As I move to the side now, we're pretty lucky because Amy's hair is a little longer, but here, what does the shoulder make me do? Elevate. Little things don't mean a lot, they mean everything. So what we're going to do is actually turn her head. You got it, one of our educators. So when we turn her head back to the side, now I don't have to elevate over the shoulder, but I'm still using my guide. You with me on that? Okay, before it goes any farther, this is yes. This is no. This is you're not quite sure, and it's early on a Saturday morning. So now I'm continuing that guide for my outer perimeter. Turn to your right. Hair drops behind the shoulder. And Amy, the next time you come in for your haircut, we're going to continue to let a little of these layers grow, just for more fullness on it. Get you have a seat here. If you're writing your business notes in those quadrants that I talked to you about, one of the most important things you'll say to any guest is the next time you come in, what we're going to do is. So I'm going to pick up that first section in the back again, and these layers are all going to be done within 5 seconds. Done. The reason is I know where I'm going. I'm going to give you something to watch for. Next time you go to a haircutting class and you see someone doing this, they've got a little voice. How many of you believe you got a little voice inside your head? If you didn't put up your hand, I'm talking about the little voice that you said, there's no voice inside my head. Like I'm talking about. That's the one. You see, for someone to sit and do one of these, if they haven't read the hair already, their little voice is going, what am I going to do? I'm really not quite sure. Let's get in it and see what happens. I don't settle for that. The definition of average is real simple. It's the best of the worst or the worst of the best. It's an also ran. So I have a plan. I know exactly where I'm going to work with this haircut. Section number 1 comes out, and here's the biggest difference for Renew is concave layers. So I can see my guide where it's going to drop out. I know where I want that real shag line to fall under the occipital bone. So please watch my knuckles that hold the hair. It's in. And now watch this. Out. Do one of these. Peace. Right back at you. Close it, pretend you're holding the hair. Now make a C pattern going in and coming out. That's the movement. It's going in and it's coming out. I will pick up my next section in behind the ear, pick up that guide, comb smooth all the way from base to ends. My comb is more important than my cutting tool at this point. And I'm going to comb that section right off as it lives. I can see my past guide, and I'm going to shatter. I want movement. I'll be cutting some curly hair tomorrow, and you'll really see on how important that is to have a deep shattered line if I don't want the hair to dry too round. I want it to have movement to it. So let's take this section, comb it as it lives. Shatter that line down and come out to my length. See how the hand holding the hair is more important than the one cutting it? Now, when I move into the temples, you'll see this is my red zone. Thanks, Kelly. So I've got more density in through my blue zone, in through the back. But my red zone, the reason that we do this in our cutting system is a red means stop at a stoplight. And when I see this, it can be dense, thinner. The line can start back farther. And I usually have to overcompensate by leaving length on top. So let's come into the side now. Let that fringe fall out. I'm going to pick up some of that back guide, but start a little bit of a new guide for myself too at the jaw. And it's in. And out to my length. Always drop the hair behind the guest, kick it to the next chair. She wants to see exactly how much is coming off. So let's take this line back. Shatter it in and come out to my length. 2 key points of any haircut in the system: outer perimeter and inner perimeter. The inner perimeter is if I went into a vacuum and pulled all this hair from the head, what would it look like? It would look like this. Now, when I come into the top, here's an option that I have. I'm going to have a point. And I will take this off because I do not want a weight line to it. So by taking this point off, right here. Now the rest of the cut that we're going to work with here is all going to be done in a dry cut fashion. So are you ready for some color? Amy, let me get you to stand up for a second. So when we stand, I can see my layers are going to fall exactly like I'm wanting them. But Kelly, you ready to get it some color? You'll be seeing her back getting some color in a minute. We get another haircut going. Way to go. Put your hands together for her, please. Now, with Renew, we're going to take the same cutting principles and we're going to apply them to a shorter line in Windswept. Awesome. Good. Thanks, Randy. Faye, are you ready? Do you ever get the surprise when you do the full consultation and all of a sudden you discover a complete undercut section? Well, we did that here, but it's a bonus. Because when we found that undercut section, it allows me something to even personalize it a little bit more. And even though there's only 5 core haircuts, we want that haircut to be personal for each individual. And I promise it's going to be personal for you. Now, I know that you want a little bit of a treat too, so let me see your hands there just for a second, Faye. Awesome. We'll take just a little bit of the CBD salve, go ahead and rub it through, especially any knuckle area that might be sore whatsoever. Wonderful. So the little surprise that we got was this, which I love for what we're going to do on our haircut. So now you get to see the barber come out in me. Anytime you're going to scissor over comb or you're going to clipper over comb, I prefer my scissor. The first thing I want you to identify is your comb. Thumb on the bottom of the spine, first finger on top so I can pivot it. You want to humor me? Do one of these. With all due respect, if I see somebody that's working with a scissor or clipper over comb that's had complete cosmetology training, they'll probably hold their thumb flat against it. They'll also struggle with lines. You ever struggle with a line? The reason is the teeth of the comb aren't pointing away from the scalp. So if I go in, I'm working like this, it's parallel, it needs to come back. I learned this when I was 13 with my dad in the barber shop. Thumb on the bottom, first finger on top, so the teeth go in and pick up and come away. They go in and pick up and come away. The swivel on your shear should always be a teardrop. Please never use a shear with a round thumb hole. The round thumb hole allows for too much movement and potential carpal tunnel. So the high point is to the top. So now here, and I can really work a complete control and respect of my body. When I come in tight here, I want to leave the shagginess on the bottom, but I want to take out the bulk above. So the comb always moves. Respect the length by causing it to over-direct to the inside. Yeah, there we go. That's what I'm talking about. And do not let her do this. If I push that head down tight right away, it tightens the skin, and then it's going to fold when unless she walks around like this all the time. That would be okay. But I really want the head natural here. I prefer using my diamond shear, which is a 6 3/4 blade. Gives me a nice clean cut line. I won't use a short shear when I'm scissor over combing because the more times you close the shear, the more chance you have for error. So now let's just come and investigate underneath, and I can use my surface razor to clean that right away. I'm going to cut this to start with my center part. And we're going to work with our outer perimeter. We will work with sections on this outer perimeter. The width of the section is determined by how thick the hair is. Section number 1 is going to come just to the top of the ear. So if you are on the page in your book that we just talked about, I hope you've started a separate page. You drew 2 lines, and in one of the lines, top left, you put haircut. By the way, we will guide you in the future when you're back at your salon as to where you can find the complete technicals for this. And in a couple of weeks, you'll also see the link to the video of it. So now I'm in the back as Kelly is sharing with you here, and I've got 2 choices. I can stay very bohemian in a soft shattered edge, and I would use my razor. However, with the natural curl that we have here, I want a little bit more strength. So my first section is going to be cut with the shear. Everything directed right back to me, taking it at the shoulder, and I'm cutting directional with control, no tension. Can you see how that turns? Please, I hope you're not this hair cutter, unless you want rotator cuff surgery. I want you to be this hair cutter that's natural, your arm beside you. Everything coming straight back. Again, little things don't mean a lot, they mean everything. So when I move to the opposite side, let's comb that line down. Take my guide. Now watch what my hand does. Turns the opposite way to cut directional. Little things don't mean a lot, they mean everything. So I'm going to share with my guests that we're doing everything we can to give those ends the influence of moving in the direction we want them to fall. This sound familiar? This side goes perfect. This side flips back. Sound familiar on that bob line? Because see, I know what you say. And what you say is the same thing I said for years. Do you sleep on that side? Are you on any medication? Maybe you should be medicated. You see, I want to be able to give the hair as much control as I possibly can. And I realize that as I remove the length, I give the hair an influence of direction. And I'm always cutting with my end result in mind. If I had the ceiling tile opened up and the deep voice said, "Why are you doing that?" I'd go, "Oh, because I want those ends to move forward." So you're always cutting on purpose. You're coloring on purpose. You're doing treatments on purpose. You're finishing on purpose. So as I take this second section down, now that I've created my weight, I'm going to come back to my razor just for the area behind the ear. No tension, just control. Comb that line down. And you see my guide that fell out? I do not want elevation either. I want to maintain weight on my perimeter here. So I take the razor at a slight bevel under from the back forward. Please identify, I take that section right back, and I'm going to really extort my body here so you can see I'm working underneath and forward. As I move into the side, this is the very first cut on my outer perimeter. So I'm going to go back to my shear. I'm going to take that line down, past the shoulder, boom. I'm going to create a cheater's guide. Pick up my length behind the ear here. Here's my guide. So now I've got the line to connect the dots from the back forward. If this was any longer, I'd be having her turn her head to the side for me. I could continue to take my outer perimeter here. However, this hair's coming off anyway. So I'm going to go to the exact same type of layering that I just did. All these layers will be cut in 5 sections. One is through the center and the back. And I think these guys want us to be able to see some color getting going pretty quick here. If they're ready. They're not waiting for me to call them. If they're ready to start, they can. Let them know that. Here's my center section. Stay with me here, guys. This really isn't my outer perimeter guide because I've got undercut, isn't it? I want you to get this. This is yes, remember. The reason is because of the missing undercut area that she had, I'm going to concave out quicker. Because if I don't, it'll look too sparse on the bottom. I'm going to use my nape line as my guide, and I'll shatter in and out. Oh yeah. All the way out. I can see my guide that traveled over to me, and I shatter in, and there's that concave out. And you saw me coming out a little quicker in the end because I'm in my red zone behind the ear. I need more weight on the bottom. Combing that area nice and smooth. There's my guide. Shatter it in. Remember the red zone. Come out quick. And even though I want more of a concave here, we're really sparse through our temple, so I'm dropping the concave down real low. Because that's going to respect more of that weight on my collar. Keeping the concave real low and respect that weight. Let me get you to stand up again here for us. Get you to stand right up. So we can start to see the concave jit'll fall just under the jawline. We've maintained our length. Have you ever do a perfect haircut and a piece grew? Boy, your hair grows fast. And being that we're going, and I love this too because it's so fast when we're working with a pure color. We're going to go back and we're going to dry to about 50% dry, and then we're going to come back for color. So put your hands together for this lovely lady, please. And it's my pleasure to introduce to you now our just the most phenomenal friend, as well as our global artistic ambassador. Dawn McKee in her hands were the key behind the collection that we just did right now. It was shot in Illinois this time. And it's time for color, so I'm going to turn it over to Dawn. We'll see you in a few minutes.
Good morning, everyone. You guys having a great morning so far? Awesome. Did you enjoy those haircuts? Awesome. And something great that you can take back to the salon. Well, with the Renew collection, we're working with beautiful flowing lines, and so that takes us into our freehand painting. And when I take you through this collection, what I would like you to really keep in mind that this is something that you can customize for every single guest. So the first thing that we did with our color is that we put a glaze on with a 7-volume enzyme cream activator. The reason why we did that is to do a base color wash, and then we're going to do our lightener over top with an overlay following. This way we get that beautiful lived-in look to it. With that, we're gonna have amazing shine. Now, with Amy, we used our 4N and our 4R, and with that, we then are jumping into our placement. You'll notice that her hair is damp, And that is because it's going to help accept the lightener, and that it's going to have a much more blended look to it, and it's going to process more evenly for me. The other thing I love about this is I'm actually going to be using my 7 volume and my clear to do just a little bit at the base. Whenever we place balayage in or any kind of freehand painting, you might have that little spot right up at the top and you want that seamless blend. So what this is going to do is help clear any of those free radicals that might be living there and help blend it and just melt it right in. Now for my partings, what I did to start off is a nape, occipital bone nape. So we're working in triangles of diamonds. So then we started from the top of the ear up into the ridge line and bring it back down all the way around. So you're gonna see me working with that. The top is parted down the center. We're gonna be working with some freehand painting in the front, and we're gonna do some just traditional balayage through the very top. So what I want you to think of is as I'm putting these placement in, how you balayage and how your techniques can flow into this as well. So keep that in mind. So to begin, what we've done here is we have worked with our lightener. We're 1 part lightener, 2 parts enzyme cream activator. And I have equal parts of my 7 volume and my clear. So with that, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna take our first section, that diamond shape. And I'm actually gonna call Miss Chelsea to the stage because she's gonna come on up and help me. She's one of our amazing SGMs from the West, an amazing hairdresser, and also a wonderful friend. So she's gonna come and help me out. So this first section, it's important that we keep the hair damp during this, so I'm gonna ask for my repair tonic. Also being that Amy has some texture to her hair, and her hair is fine. She has a lot of it, but the texture is fine. Repair tonic and pure color are perfect because they're giving her the support structure to support the color. So the first thing that we'll do here with our section is we're gonna use our clear, and I'm just working at the very base. And then Chelsea, can I have you grab me a TK2 comb there? And they're right on the bottom. Perfect. So with the fine teeth of my comb, I'm just gonna do a quick comb through just to soften it. I'm gonna get my gloves on here as well. And so we always wanna make sure we have our gloves on. All right. So next up, we have our balayage we're gonna go through with our lightener. Now I'm gonna use my detailing brush, which is the finer brush. So I like to use my Fast Art brush for my board, and then I'll work with my detailing brush as I actually balayage. So I'll set that right there. We're gonna go ahead and load our board. Now I'm a right-handed colorist, so I'm gonna place my lightener on the left side of my board and sweep across. That will keep things nice and easy for me. So right across the board gets me the perfect amount of lightener. I'm gonna go ahead and pinch. Now I wanna work on the top corners of the peak. So I'm gonna work on the top, I'm gonna work on each of the corners. I do wanna leave the depth through the back, so I'm not gonna be painting anything on the back side. And I'm just gonna use what we call a tap, push, and pin. I can't do that today. All right, so we're gonna move on from that. So we're gonna go ahead and tap there. We're just going and working with a medium stroke through the middle, and then we're gonna do the same thing on the opposite side. So we're gonna go ahead here and work just on those corners, very gently. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take that, lay it across the corner of my board, and now we're gonna go ahead and just saturate through the ends. So the color really melt is going to be where that pop of color is gonna be through the ends. That's where I wanna see that. The rest is just giving me a subtle, soft pop of color in the very middle. And then with that, what I've done with my foil is I have folded it long ways in the half, this way, and I've made a little airplane, because who doesn't like airplanes? Y'all took one to get here, most of you. So I just folded down my corners so that I can just lay that right over the top. And then I have some little clips, just my little 2-prong clips, and I'll just hold that in place there. I don't need to completely cover it. I'm just tenting it so that it does have some of that warmth there. And then from here, we're gonna go into our second section. So with that, I have my diamond shape, comes from that bottom of the ear top of the ear, and then comes back down. So I have 2 triangles. And Chelsea's gonna jump in and help me out a little bit here. So she's gonna take this left side here. And I'm gonna go ahead and continue on the right, or on my left. I went to kindergarten, left hand, right hand. You can laugh, it's okay. Thank you. Everybody needs to be laughed at once in a while, right? All right, so the first thing that we did is we took our 0, and our 7 volume. Again, that's really helping me to just blend that seamless blend throughout. So my TK2 comb then goes through and just melts that through. And then we're gonna go ahead and work with our lightener. So again, I'm working by loading the left side of my board. And then we're gonna go sweep right off that back. Now I am directing this just slightly to the middle so that we have that over direction in the red zones, but we are going to pat. We're going to pet a little bit longer stroke through that middle, and then we're gonna pinch. We're gonna go ahead and work on both sides here. So we're gonna go ahead and work both of those corners. Now because this has this corner down on the bottom, I am gonna lift it out slightly, and I'm just gonna work through that corner. And as I get through the pack, through that ends, we're gonna go ahead and saturate through the ends. So the board really helps me to be able to get that saturation that I need. And so we're gonna go ahead and work that through the corner. Now, as I lay that down, we're gonna go ahead and place our next foil on. And to show you again what I did there for my tent, I just folded it long ways. And then we're gonna go ahead and fold down those corners just so that they stay out of my way. So that's like, again, like making a little airplane like when you were a kid. And you're gonna go ahead and lay that right over the top. And I just take one clip and make sure that it stays in place for me. So once we get Chelsea going here, we're gonna go ahead and take up the next row. So I'll let her finish there. And one of the things we love about Pure Color is now if I am a customizer and I like a thicker balayage lightener, I have a thickener that I can add in and make it the consistency I like. Instead of messing with the beautiful formula of Pure Lightener, which is 1 part powder, 2 parts enzyme cream activator, I don't have to mess with that mix, which is where my magic is in my lightener. With the enzyme cream activators, we're flushing all that away. So if you want it thicker, add your thickener to it. Are we ready to go to the next row? Awesome, so we're gonna take down that next row. I'll let you help me on that one. And we're gonna move to that next row quickly. So you can see we can move quite fast through this application. And we're gonna go ahead, and I believe Wayne is coming up. Oh, no, not, okay. So with that, we're gonna go ahead and paint that left side of my board. We're gonna use our detailing brush then right across the top there. And I'll just use my comb, which is over there by Miss Chelsea. I got another one. It's all good. We're gonna share. There we go. So I'm just using the parting tooth of my comb. This thing comes in nice and handy. And I'm just gonna pull that right off. And if you feel that it is getting too dry at this point, you can also add water to it. So I keep a water bottle handy for that as well. Whenever I'm misting my repair tonic on, I also wanna make sure that I really evenly distribute this. Because the proteins that are in here, if I just mist it on, it's going on all the hair, but by combing it, I'm really distributing it through and making sure that I have even application. So with that, we're gonna go ahead and apply our 7 volume enzyme cream activator, our clear formula. And again, this is just helping ease the seamless blend. We're gonna go ahead and comb that right through. And I'll hand that over to you. And then we're gonna go ahead and take our board. So I'm on the left-hand side, I'm sweeping across The detailing brush actually has 2 rows of brushes, so it's great because what it does is helps me grab the appropriate amount of lightener. So in the middle, we're just working those peaks. Now again, you could customize this with a melt. You could customize this with a fuller balayage if you liked a heavier paint to it. I'm just working down through those peaks on the top, the left, the right, and if I desire a little pop underneath, I'm going to go through that point on the bottom as well. So we're working with what we call pat, pet, and push. So it's just that little tap at the top to blend, the pat, then the pet through the middle, giving that little more saturation to the medium saturation through the middle, and then we're going to work through those ends. And with that, we're going to make sure that we're really saturating those ends. So if need be, I'm going to grab my Fast App brush here because Amy's got a lot of hair. And we're going to go through and really saturate those ends here in the middle. We'll lay that right down. We're going to go ahead and then take our next tent. We're going to go ahead and fold it long ways. Just like that. A little bit of an airplane fold on top. You guys liking the airplane fold? Come on. Nobody? Come on. It's the little things don't mean a lot, they mean everything, right? And I just like to make sure that I'm having the separation between the two, but it does keep it in place and just lets that heat be up at the top. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to take that one down. Now I'm going to let Chelsea continue through this pattern through the middle, and then with that, were we ready for Faye? So we're just going to have you go ahead and get set up on the other side. Yep, come on right over here. You can just transfer those. Yep, perfect. Thank you, hon. All right, so with Faye, again, thank you very much. So we're going to be working with that damp balayage here as well. And so all I'm working with here is a 5-pointed star at the top. So we're going to open that up right here in the middle. There's going to be some balayage wanding through the front as well as through the back. That's just going to give a pop of color. So I'm going to take you through that. And then we have our 5-pointed star. So you can see the center part. You have the peak in the back, 2 peaks on either side. And that's where we're going to roll here. So with Faye, we worked with our 2 different formulas. We actually worked with our 6WG on the top for our color wash, and then on the bottom we worked with our 4G and our 6G, and then there's that 4G that's underneath where her undercut is. The reason for that color wash, again, is just to give that beautiful overlay to give us that beautiful start. And I'm going to go ahead and take these triangles out of the way for me. And what we're going to do to start is we want to work with that balayage wand. How many of you have a balayage wand in your drawer? Okay, just out of curiosity, how many of you have a balayage wand in your drawer, or 5, but you never touch them? I'm just asking. It's okay. How many of you would like to use them? Awesome. It's one of my favorite tools, and I'll share with you some of the ways that I like to use it. One of them is to work to just provide like a soft lightener, like a baby light. And the other times I like to use it is maybe in between a foil. So if my guest comes in and they have the full head of highlights, and they're going, you know how the blondes, they want more every time they come in, right? So what we want to do there is be able to ease our work. So, and what I mean by that is, how many of you go to do that next foil and you start adding more foils because they want to be more blonde, right? You're with me? Okay, so you're like, I just keep adding more foils every time. So with that, why not add the same amount of foils? And the part of that is the blonde, it needs to be refreshed. So working with your balayage wand in between the foils helps to give that brightness without adding a whole ton more foils. So it's one of the ways I like to use it. So with Faye, we're going to be working on just little angles on either side, so nice diagonals. And I want to make sure that I have a good amount of the repair tonic here as well, because that's really going to help me with the saturation of the wand. It's going to help it glide through easier, and it's also going to help me work to be able to support the color that I'm doing. It's just an extra protection. So with that, we have our lightener, and I have my wand as well. And we are going to load the wand. So if you're ever sitting there and you're like, I don't know what to do with this thing, I got it, it's free with some other thing, and there we go. So let's show you how to load it properly. So fast tap brush just up at the top. Oops, sorry, making a mess. So when you load it, you want it to be able to load up in the little squares. You want it a little bit of bubbling to the top, but you don't want it dripping out. So want it to be still controlled. Now with that, we're going to take that diagonal section. We're going to go ahead and comb that right through. We're going to go ahead and take our wand, and it's just like an escalator. And everybody ride an escalator at least once this weekend somewhere? Just, you know? All right, so with that, you're going to hold the hair on the angle that you're choosing to work with your wand. You're going to hold the wand just like you would do an escalator. So an escalator goes down on a 45-degree angle, sweeps off the bottom. So we're going to go ahead and do the very same thing. So we're going to take our wand in on a 45-degree angle. Slow and steady wins the race. So we're going to go ahead and lightly drop that slowly as I come down to the bottom. I'm going to sweep off at the very ends. So you just have to be consistent, slow, patient. Take the end of your balayage wand and you can just lightly blend up at the top. Now, if I wanted a little extra protection there, I could also work to be able, with my clear up at the top, which will also give me what I need there to support that. So I'm just going to fold my edge of my foil down as it's on a diagonal. I'm just going to lay that across, place a little clip up at the top, and then we're going to keep moving through the back. So we're just going to do 2 or 3 of these, so you'll see a couple of them. We're going to go ahead and grab that next section, and you just want it to be that slice up at the top. We're going to load the wand. Again, I'm going to load through the top using just allowing those bubbles to come out. We're going to go ahead and make sure that that is nice and damp with our repair tonic, and we're going to go ahead and go slow and steady, wins that race, and we glide, and then we sweep off at the bottom. With that, you're going to have just a pop of color. So I'm not looking for a highlight. I'm looking for just that sun-kissed pop of lightener there. And then with that, I will continue around that, and then we're going to be working through our panels. So we'll do just a couple more here, and we're going to do just the 2 on the other side. So we're going to bring her around to that opposite side. We're working in the opposite direction. We're going to go ahead and take our diagonal parting. We're going to go ahead and work with our wand. Now we're just loading again right up through the top. Again, I want that to just bubble out slightly. I'm always a little messy, not the cleanest. I'm the hairdresser that you can tell I was there. I do clean up after every guest because I know that I'm like a little bit of a tornado, and it's okay. Who else is like that? Just asking. It's that creative edge, right? All right, so we are going to go ahead and fold that foil down on an angle. This will also allow me to hold this foil straight down rather than it being in her face. So that's why I like to be able to work on those folds. Keeps it where I need it, but it also keeps it clean. So we're just going to go ahead and clip that. We're going to do one more, and then we're going to go to the top. So I'm going to go ahead and fold my foil, get it ready. I've got my wand all ready to go, I think. Maybe not. There we go. Now it is. And then we're gonna go ahead and take that next section. So we're gonna go ahead and take the next slice just behind, and it's just, again, to give that little pop of color right through the front. Repair tonic, I always mist right before I work my wand. Helps to keep that saturation, as well as it's going to help me keep that clean. So with that, I'll go ahead and take my next section down. I'm gonna go ahead and work on that 45-degree angle. And just like that escalator, I'm gonna go ahead and sweep it off the ends. Now, if you wanted to, you could also be creative with your wand. Some people actually like to do two, and they'll track one and follow with the other. So that's a cool way to go. And then we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna take that board. What if I wanted just a little more pop up in the front? What if I took that little bit in that front area and I just saturate it through more? So you can use your wand as a great training tool. Maybe you've never done balayage before. If there's any newbies out there, I enjoy it for working through that ease of learning as well. If I've got somebody new, because I can track my lines and then I can paint over them as well. So it's a great learning tool to use also. So we're gonna take that, just clip it right out of the way. Now for my triangles up at the top, we're gonna go ahead and take down all of our ponies and just prepare those out. And we're gonna start working with our balayage through that center. So I'll go ahead and drop those out. We'll get our repair tonic going through. Now, one of the things, again, here, we're working with texture as well. So you're gonna see us working with texture a lot this weekend because all of our models happen to have texture going in their hair. So with that, I'm gonna use my repair tonic. I am gonna wet this down a little bit with my water. And my apologies, I left my toolkit over there by Miss Chelsea. So I'm gonna go ahead and take down just misting. Now the water is helping again to maintain that consistency. If you're gonna start with wet, continue that way. If you're going to work with dry, continue that way because it creates that consistency. So we're gonna go ahead then and we're gonna take down that first triangle in the back, and we're gonna hold that triangle out just at a 45-degree angle. We're gonna be working with our 0, 0, and clear. So I have that consistency there at that melt line. So I'm just working with my Fast Tap brush again. And I love working with my clear in these instances, especially with highlights. If you're doing foils, the clear is amazing for giving a seamless blend up at the top. So you don't see the harsh lines that we can sometimes create. And you're not necessarily having to apply a color. So sometimes we think, okay, we're gonna do a color and a highlight. This way, if I just want some extra shine and I just want to be able to add that beautiful melt up at the top, I can do that very easily. So with my board, loading it on that left-hand side, taking that first triangle, and I'm just gonna go ahead and turn her closer to the back. Again, holding that out at a 45-degree angle, and we're working just with that freehand painting. So remember to customize this a little bit too if you wanna see more of that W pattern. You want more pop at the top, you can go ahead and add that as well. So I'm working just down that blend in the middle and on the sides, holding that out at my 45-degree angle. And with that, you can see how smoothly the lightener works to blend. We're gonna go ahead and lay that right across the corner of my board. And I love the board too because the board has a really nice gridded pattern across the top, so I can get more lightener here as well. So I can get more saturation as I need it. So with that, we're just gonna go ahead and saturate all the way through. And then we're gonna go ahead and use that same tenting method up at the top. So we're just gonna fold that foil long ways, ta-da, make our little airplane up at the top. You can start getting into origami for your guests. Maybe you're making elephants next, I don't know. And then we're gonna go ahead and lay that down across the top. So if you need to, you can place a second clip. I sometimes like two, sometimes I'll just do the one. Just depends on whether or not it's hanging for me. And now we're gonna go ahead with our second triangle. So the second triangle is gonna be working through that front. And we're just gonna be taking that section to the back. So we'll be overlapping a little bit, overlaying those next pieces. So very quickly, you can work through this application. It's a great application for anybody who's looking for just that additional little bit of a pop of color. So we're gonna go ahead and take our detailing brush. We're gonna go ahead and take that section through. Again, we're just working about a 45-degree angle. And I did forget my little clear, so we're gonna go ahead and grab that. We're gonna go ahead and work through each side of that section, and then we're gonna go ahead and melt it. So we're just doing a base and stretch here using our Clarity Shine. And a Clarity Shine treatment is even additional, adding that shine. So that's where this clear comes from as well. So it's flushing any impurities out and away. So we'll take our section, we're gonna hold it to the back. We're gonna go ahead and take and just work through the side. Again, using our pat, pet, and push. I say, like Wayne, they built me close to the ground, so I have to stretch a lot here with these tall models. You can laugh at that too. Come on, short people problems, it's all good. So with that, we're gonna go ahead, and you notice the first one I did that W. Here I'm gonna go ahead and work through more of a V. So depending on how much you are in need of or where you wanna place that, that's where that freehand painting comes in. So I want you to be able to take the sectioning and also apply your own creativity to it. So we'll go ahead and we're gonna take down our next foil. I've got one more here in the front, and then I'm gonna be repeating that on the other side. And with that, we're gonna go ahead and tent right over the top. And Chelsea, how you doing over there? Just nod your head. She's doing great over there. She's working through the top. Now the top on that panel that she's working with is the same 5 pattern star that we're working with here in the front. She's just using a freehand style painting through it. And for me, I'm working through and doing our star balayage. Awesome. So with that, Wayne is going to come on back up. You guys give her a big round of applause. The master is going to come up. He's going to share the stage with me and do another renew haircut for you. Woohoo! All right. Come on. There we go. Oh, and he's got his camera out.
Awesome. Well, I have a huge thank you to put these lovely ladies who are doing their wonderful color. And by the way, you're going to see it come back and be finished. We wanted to take you through the progression of the whole thing. I have a major request that I will do on a knee, and that is for everybody to be wearing their mask. It's the law in the state of Nevada indoors. And I do realize that it's personal choice, but it's also the personal choice of those around us. So I ask you for that, please, when you're indoors, to follow that. Thank you so much. Greatly, greatly, greatly appreciated. And I know the next time we hang, we're not going to have to do this, God willing. So just know we really, really, really appreciate that in the room as well as outside in there. And with that, yes, you can cut renew short. And yes, there is a system. So I'm going to ask my nephew Tyler over there just to get that background with a little bit of a bump. And The look we're going to right now, the core haircut is front and center. How about we do a little chair dance? Your right shoulder, my left. The one-arm fist pump. With front and center, we work with an inverted line. So I'll work on top of the occipital bone. We'll work an arc. Over direction creates length and weight in the opposite direction. We're going to start with compression cutting, but we're going to apply the Renew Unleashed feel to it. The protein cream gives me complete control. I pull everything to the center. And remember how that hand moves? In and out. And just like that. So you can see on how that layer falls through right and smooth. You're in total control of that line. The next section, let's drop down just by the base of the occipital. You can see how I like to use my clip as my sectioning tool. In our cutting system, we call this target parting. Your index finger is always your target, and you quite simply use that point to go to the target. And remember, just like when you were a child, keep your parts clean. So I'll take this line now, and I'm going to use a bit of my weight underneath here as my guide. And here's where Renew becomes new. Shatter from that top, pull it out, disconnect. Red zone back. Back is cut in 3 sections here. Red zone back so that I maintain some of that weight. Shatter the line down. Hand comes out into the end. Shatter that line down, out to the end. Everything has that concave feel to it. Okay, if you're with us through our core, and it's great to see some of our dynamic core people right in the front row there. This is the difference when you're applying Renew. Instead of taking my weight line like I would traditionally work the front and center forward, let's take the line out, use my cheekbone as my guide, and then in, and create that concave. In and out. Last section all combed down as it lives. Lift it up and continue allowing a little bit of disconnection here also. Thanks, Kelly. The back is always just 3 sections. Top line, a little bit of disconnect. Top line disconnect. Pull that hand out. Leave the strings at the bottom. Let's leave this fringe out. I've got something special planned for you. Here's where we're going to really personalize. See that last section drop out? okay? And renew, unleashed. Yeah, you're special. You get out of there. Disconnect drops out. Renew, unleashed. Leave that length. Told you we had something special for you. When I roll that, I rolled it from underneath so I get a slight bevel. It cups under. I don't want that to stand out on me. Underneath, out. Underneath, out. Underneath, out. The shortest point falls over that eye. Come down to my cheekbone. Out and out to that length. Out to the length. Right there. The hand that holds the hair is what really controls the length. For a little heavier here, I want more of a concave. There we go. With the pieces in around the face now, we're going to personalize and weave cut. So I take my contour comb, take it past where my concave layer is happening, just at my cheekbone. I'm going to weave in, and I'm going to weave out, and I'm going to weave in, and I'm going to weave out. And then it's one long belly stroke to roll under. So when she takes the shift shaping wax, she can just piece that in. There's going to be a corner on this haircut. The corner is going to fall on my part line here. So let's lift this up. Grab that corner and shatter it to my weight. Grab the corner, shatter it to the weight. So we start to see the concave underneath. Good. And it's all the movement that's out. It's out. Everything is moving out to it. Now, the term framing we introduced to the world in 1988. A lot of you weren't even born then. And it was my thought, when you build a house, the first thing after you see the foundation, which is like a scalp, is people build a frame. And it's that frame that holds the walls that give it its shape. If it didn't have the frame, the walls would collapse. It'll never look like that again. Can you come by my house and fix it for me in the morning? Does that sound familiar? You see, if we rely too heavily on a liquid styling frame, the guest doesn't reproduce our look. Yes, we need our liquid stylers to support, but we also need to be able to cut the frame into the haircut. I prefer, and I believe we learn better, not to use the word texturizing. I'm going to texturize it. Texture needs to stay with the product of our texture sprays. So if I'm going to create a frame here, she wants more lift in her crown. So right where I would take a look and going, oh, let me just see that. Anywhere I would want to tease or spray or gain any lift, I take that section, I lift it up, and I find the bending point. Some people will call it the focal point. Then I take my surface razor and I lay the back spine against that point. Then I turn the blade up flat to it and very lightly work to the top. So if I go to look at that section again, I can't see it, but it is there. So lift that section up right where I want my frame, And the frame just can't be at the base. The frame has to go all the way to the ends. So it's just in the crown where I want that frame. Build that frame up. Now, when your guest comes back in next time, and please be with me when I share this here. No mind vacations, gotta be right here. When she comes back in next time, I do not need to rebuild the frame all the way to the ends. If I do that, the hair becomes too sparse after 2 or 3 haircuts. When she comes back next time and goes, it's just starting to get a little flat. Perfect. Want to make sure you're still using your push powder at home to give you that volume. However, on that next haircut, I come in and just build the regrowth. So I'm always cutting with my end result in mind. And yes, I know you love it now. In 5 weeks, that frame is going to be just a little too heavy. I want to make sure that your hair looks great all the time. It's easy for you to be able to manage, and your next appointment is convenient. So we're going to rebook that when we go right to the front. Sound good? My friends, welcome to Renew Freedom Unleashed for 2022. We have the absolutely most amazing Daniel Mason-Jones coming to join us after the break. Make sure that you've got your paper, you've got your pen, and get ready to take your business to the next level. You have a half hour. Come back and see us then. Thank you very much.